quite the talent he is. Proper chatterbox yada. If you're keen, it'll be brilliant. Today, we're going to keep it simple. I'll bark out a basic command and you watch. Keen to know? He'll set your tail wagging. Does mine, hence why I'm backing him. Right then, Wookie here. Do take a seat, won't you? Give us your full attention while we listen to my pal, Yada.
Oh, I can never get enough of that. That is one of my absolute favorite things. That was John Voight that created that. Kevin with the transitions. But oh my goodness, is that ever entertaining? And here I've got the Wookiee. He's right here. He's still backing me, which is a good thing. So we're glad to have.
I heard he was 5 doors down.
He was. Wookiee was doing some free roaming here just moments ago. It is Matsah. Well, it will be Matsah here in about 15 minutes. It's still the very end of Pesach. And we'll begin Matzah. This was a really somber day, of course, because this is the day that Dowd, our king, served as the Passover lamb. And he was tortured in that process by the Romans, and to recognize that the very Son of God, the Messiah, the chosen one, God's firstborn, volunteered to do this on our behalf so that we might live forever, and he allowed his corporeal body to be sacrificed in this way. Is extraordinary, and of course, the more you think about it, the more somber it is to recognize what had to transpire for this to work. And now we are just 15 minutes away from celebrating. In fact, if you're in Israel, it's already something that you're dealing with, but it was at the end of Pesach that Dowd's soul was laden with our guilt and carried it into Sheol, so that we might be innocent before God, and thereby, after becoming immortal on Pesach and innocent on Matzah, we are prepared to join him, his firstborn children, on Bikurim. It's a marvelous plan, and I'm so glad that it was carried off. But it's a lot to bear. So we have JB up there, and looks like right next to heaven. How are you doing, JB?
Doing great. Great.
Did you you're celebrating Pesach? You celebrating Pesach this evening, or did you do it last night?
Did it last night because I'm never sure how long these shows are going to go.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we're going to try to keep this one a more reasonable time. We got Mike in another very handsome-looking shirt. Man, you're styling. You could host this show.
I don't think I could host the show.
No. Yeah, well, it's good to have you back. I appreciate your comments on the timeline. That was quite a conundrum to deal with, and I'd like to have my cake and eat it too. I'd like that first part before Noach, when things change appreciably. The narrative is the same all the way up to Noach, and then it changes appreciably. I would have loved to. I wanted to have that work out the way that it did, and it just makes so much sense that way. But still, you've got to deal with the 50 years as we progress, and I think I came up with a fairly interesting way to resolve that, which you have two choices. It's either 56 years in the garden, or it's the 6 years in the garden with the 50 years reduced elsewhere. But it's a good challenge because, of course, for those that don't know, on the timeline where we're trying to go way back before there was writing. So, before there was any written accounting of anything, before written history, and we're trying to go back and date these things that God has said using the Masoretic text. And the oldest extant Masoretic text dates to the 11th century CE. 11th century CE, it makes it 5,000 years out of sync with removed from what happened. And then you'd say, well, what about the Septuagint? They made an attempt back 100 to 200 BCE to record it. Do you know how different the Septuagint is than the Masoretic text regarding the genealogies from from Adam to Abraham?
Extremely.
I know that in the Septuagint, Methuselah lived like 4 years after the flood. So was he like a stowaway on the ark or what?
Yeah. So the answer is 1,300 years. It's different by it adds 100 years, a full century to each of the first five. So all the first five listed lived a full century longer. But when it's all done, it's 1,300 years added, and they even add a generation. That's not you're not going to use the Septuagint to fix any of this. And you know how I went back to the Dead Sea Scrolls, so I said, okay, I'm going to go check that again. Do you know how much of there's 3 chapters that you have to do with? I think it's 5, 7, and 11 are the 3 chapters going by memory to get the genealogies up through at least through Yishak. Do you know how much of the Dead Sea Scrolls are covered in those 3 chapters?
None.
I think I found 3 actually.
Yeah, I only found one word.
Up to like Abraham and Isaac.
Yeah, I only when I went through it at least on the
to know, I don't think there was any, or maybe one.
Yeah, there's one word and 5, and there is no record at all of 7 or 11. Not a single word from those chapters. So one word is the answer. It appears to be. So we're really on thin ice with the timing, but I just think it's an interesting discussion. So what I thought was the best way to go about it is the thing I always like to do, to say, all right, here are your choices. Here's the reality. Here's what we have to work with, and here's how we deduce this. And you have one challenge here, and you can resolve it one or 2 ways. You take your pick. Either is acceptable. So, Dr. Jeff, you seem to have the lights of a hospital above you.
Well, the Bad Friday Easter bunnies decided to call in, and I essentially used my Nasama to DTRT, do the right thing. So I'm here for a bit. I want to scatter as Passover comes to a close, and we enter into, Matzah.
So you weren't supposed to be there, but you were called because there's so many people that are in desperate shape.
Desperate shape, and the Bad Friday people and the Easter bunnies called off sick.
Oh, so what you're saying, the staff that is Twistian decided they couldn't come.
Yeah. So, I'm trying to use my Nasama to do the right thing as a decent human being, but this is the most important convocation that we have. So
yes.
I'm not very happy right now, but I think I'm doing the right thing.
Yeah, it's my view that when Yahowah speaks about a special time and the Shabbatons and the like, and where he does want us to spend time with him and to celebrate the relationship, healing people is never prohibitive. If a shepherd on the Shabbat or on a Shabbaton has an injured sheep or an injured child, the first thing you're going to do is take care of that child. You're not going to say, "I'm sorry, kid. It's the Shabbat. I hope you make it through the night. We'll deal with you tomorrow." Right? Who's going to do that?
Even if a donkey falls into a hole, you're to pull it out.
Yeah, exit. So I think you're doing the right thing. Will, there's your Will and champion Jake. How are you, pal?
Good.
Good. I love the voice that you used for the 22nd Psalm. Your song, is that one you did recently, or is that one from a while ago?
It's one from a while ago. Yeah, from last year.
Okay, yeah, because it appeared in my feed, and I thought it might be the memory feed that it showed up in. But it's really catchy. I love that deep voice and talking about what he's going to do. He really sounds like it's a king talking to you about what I'm going to do. So, yeah. Thank you. It's a beaut.
That was a song that we remastered.
Yeah,
and he did a really good job. Yeah.
Are you talking about the song, or are you talking about where it's 1 through 19 and he's sort of reciting that one?
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that one.
Yeah, that's really a great meditative aid for Pesach. I mean, it's really wonderful.
It took a while.
Yes, it's wonderful.
Yeah.
That's
Nicely done, kiddo.
Yeah, it was very nicely done. That's a beauty.
Thank you.
Did you guys celebrate Pesach last night, or are you doing it tonight?
We did
Last night.
We did it last night. I was
Okay,
telling the fellas before the show, we incorporated for the first year the burning of the bones and, you know, all the waste from the lamb. And then we both raced out in the morning to see that it was ash and that we followed the Torah's instructions, and it was exciting.
Yes.
So
Who put the blood on the
oh
door?
yeah, Jake, we're bringing the plates in, and there was some blood, and Jake walked right over to the door jam, and he was painting it. And so those are little symbolic things, but they really bring you deeper into it, and it also gives Yahowah a nod that we're with you. We know, we get it, we understand it. Yeah.
Yes. It's and I did all of those things too. We did those things last night, and what it is, it's more than just doing them. Particularly if it's father and son, and you're celebrating it together. Or we had both Rich and Perry here, in addition to Leigh and myself. Is that it's something you talk about? It brings you deeper into the story because you're talking about this is what we were asked to do so many years ago, and here we're doing it. It's just such a simple thing. God asked for us to do something, and we're doing it.
Yep.
Yeah, I was talking to the guys this evening as we had our matzah dinner a little early because of course we're doing this show, and we already know that Yahowah is very accommodating in terms of early or late, as we know through Hezekiah. So I wasn't concerned we were doing it early, but I was saying, it's interesting that Yahowah has very detailed instructions of what he'd like us to do and how to celebrate Pesach. He's got the menu all laid out for us, and he has the timing down and the instructions and all the periphery kinds of things, right down to little hyssop on is going to be used. But on matzah, the instruction is eat matzah, eat bread without yeast. It's the bread of affliction. And so for matzah, you're pretty much on your own as to what you're going to be serving. That is appropriate for this meal and what you're going to be discussing. And so the thing that I thought was interesting is when God gave very clear and complete instructions, this is what I want you to do, versus very few instructions, you're on your own to enjoy it your own way. Almost all of us prefer the event where God gave us all these instructions, and it's kind of just easy to say, all right, this is what Dad said to do. Let's do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's probably universal with most people. Captain Kirk.
Hey.
Well, what's the latest there in Carmel, man?
It's cold.
It's cold, huh?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. So we just did another show on basics on Yahowah's name, and I had a long sleeve shirt on. And I just couldn't wait to get through the show. So I got to change the shirt. It's just way too hot. Here it is, evening here, and I've got a long sleeve shirt on. So I just can't handle this. So it's a little warmer here. Yeah, it's pretty amazing. So I've got a commitment that you're going to be part of the members on chat on. You were the big proponent. We've got to get our website up, and we've got to get it capable of having chat and communication and messaging, and we have all that now. So
okay, I'll be in.
Sylvia will walk you through the initial process, because as kind of leaders here in the Covenant family, we should lead by example, and that's a wonderful place to communicate. And there are so many different topics that are live and people are talking about that in the family that I have found it so much more enjoyable than the circus of social media ever was. And we're really very close to being able to spend just all of our time there, because the only two things we're lacking at this point, and we have much more than what can be processed or seen or enjoyed or even witnessed on social media, with one exception, and that is that I would like to be able to have chat comments associated with the blog post on the news, and also the vlogs on these programs, so that we could add to them and we could communicate on them in addition to YouTube and the like. On a positive note, though, we are back on Facebook. After our chit chat on the phone, they decided to
Thank goodness.
account. Yeah, they released us from Facebook jail, so we are communicating again. I wrote them. They kept on begging me to engage with their AI on instant messaging. I'm here. I'm Timothy, and I'm here to help you. I said, no, Timothy, you're an AI, and I'm not here to help you. So I will state very clearly why I think Facebook is broken. And I'm going to list all the reasons it is broken. It has nothing to do with me. It has everything to do with you. So you can talk to yourself and fix this problem. And if you do, we'll post again. If you don't, then I just won't. So your call. So I guess Timothy had a Hail Timothy conversation. So Kevin, you're on the other side. I know if I look this way, I think I'm looking at you as opposed to not looking at you. So I can't see you if I look at you.
We can forego the magic of TV. We get it. Yeah.
But okay. But I understand there you are. I know you've been really active behind the scenes here recently. How's life?
Doing great. Had Pesach last night. Had my mom and a couple friends down. Jovo came down and Alex Cho, and we had Pesach and had a campfire and watched the moon rise. So yeah, it was a beautiful night.
It was a beautiful night. I think this fire, celebrating the fire on the Mow'edym, which God's very clear. It says, I want you to come and approach this fire. But that's really becoming a central aspect of how the Covenant family is celebrating the Mow'edym now. We're all sharing fire pictures.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. And
it's probably the best metaphor we have from God, because it is the transformation of our bodies into the soul being covered with energy and light. So I think it is marvelous. We actually have Leah. She's been playing injured. For those that don't know, Leah has a bad toe. She was trying to save Wookie here from a German Shepherd, and she raced down the driveway out into the street to save Wookie from the German Shepherd, and did a toe plant and just about took off her toe. I will probably have to post my my drugstore picture. She sent me out to get treatment stuff for her. I bought the drugstore. Yeah, really I bought the drugstore. Local, unfortunately, it was a small drugstore. Otherwise, it would have been a little overwhelming. But
it was already overwhelming. He came back with the whole shelf.
Yeah, I did the whole store. Anyway, she's it's still sore, but it's gradually healing. Her hands are now working again. So yeah, there we go. Look how much better they are than
so much better. Yeah.
He loves you. What else could he do?
Yeah, what else, man? It was rough.
It was a nasty road rash.
It's the we have not shared the pictures of it in its raw stage, but
gruesome pictures.
It was one really nasty wound. So we're glad to have Leah back. Kirk, are you? Is any positive news on how you're feeling?
I have up and down. I'm fine. Listen, we spent the last night listening to your third rendition of Pesach, and with Doug doing what he did. I tell you, I ain't complaining about nothing. That man, wow, that was so
must
moving.
Be my favorite. It must be my favorite show so far. Is the of the 22nd Mizmowr of Dowd saying what he was going to do and how he ends it by saying, maybe I've earned some respect here now. Maybe my people will appreciate what I have done for them, because this was a lot. This was a big ask. And I'm glad it's done now. It's powerful. It's if you're ever going to read something that's going to bring tears to your eyes, it's the 22nd to Mizmowr. In fact, all day today, the end of the night last night, as we sat around the fire, and all day today, I've just had this heavy cloud that's been over me, having a appreciation for what he did. That was a rough go. Crucifixion followed by a trip to hell.
It's interesting you mentioned that, Craig. I've had like feelings, and I essentially spent most of last night up going over a special article that was printed in the Journal of the American Medical Association, detailing all the physiology, which you went over last night. involving crucifixion.
Wow.
And I am inspired actually to write the authors of the article who have the player wrong, because it was making me, it was fuming me. I had smoke coming out of my ears, you know, reading the JC nonsense.
Yes.
Well, you're a medical doctor. Why don't you just rewrite the report and we'll post it on the website?
A medical version would be great.
Yeah, send that to us, and we'll remove the JC. We'll put in Dowd, and I'd love to have it, because I did take some time. It was a while ago, but to look at all of the aspects of crucifixion, and he has 3 or 4 lines where he's specifically talking about the way that crucifixion kills, the way that his bones were pulled out of their joint but not broken, how it caused a weakening of the heart, how his bodily fluids came away from his mouth, and such that he was dying of thirst. His tongue would cleave to the top of his mouth, and so he was literally suffocating while dying of thirst, while the joints were all pulled out of place, while his muscles, he would describe, were fading away, because he couldn't get oxygen to the muscles, because when you're being hung by your hands, your diaphragm won't work. And the only way your diaphragm will work is if you push up with your feet, but that's excruciating, because then the nail is through the Achilles. And so he described exactly the way that crucifixion kills. And, we didn't know that until probably the last 50 years, where we've been able to do a medical analysis of it. And yet 3,000 years ago, he wrote how crucifixion kills it. And it was 700 years before crucifixion was even invented. One of the most astounding prophecies ever written.
Absolutely.
It certainly is. And when you read about how he was left literally in that tau position in a permanent inspiratory mode, unable to exhale. And that's the reason why he was trying to push up. And that's why when the Romans figured out what was going on, what they considered to be merciful, and I use the term pejoratively.
Yes. There was no such thing as a merciful Roman.
Yeah, right. That they would basically smash with hammers the tibia, so that those whom they were crucifying could no longer push up. It would facilitate the death of the corporal body.
Correct. Anguishing pain for maybe 20 or 30 more minutes, rather than anguishing pain for hours, and sometimes even a full day. If somebody could actually endure the pain of pushing up on their Achilles, if you could endure the pain of pushing up on your Achilles on your heels, then you could survive crucifixion for a very long time. Some people did for many, many days. But the intelligent thing to do under those circumstances is not to push up, and to pass more peaceably. And then the Romans, they said, they figured out what the process was, and they broke people's tibias, excruciating pain to people they were already humiliating. The thing that most people don't realize is just how incredibly terrorizing and savage and brutal Rome was. We have so many instances in the United States where we, Capitol Hill from Rome, the Senate from Rome, that Aquila, the eagle,
you glorify
from
Rome.
America glorifies Rome. The buildings are all set up in a Romanesque fashion.
Your movies are all heroism.
And now you've got Trump with the Fourth Reich, Imperial Rome, the Roman Catholic Church, either the Holy Roman Empire or the Nazis is the third, and he's now the Fourth Reich.
Is he a Catholic?
No, but it is indeed reprehensible. Rome was a terror state, and And so they were the worst of the beasts. And so for Dowd in his city, here he is king of Israel, legitimate. And Rome has occupied his country. They've desecrated his country. And he's in the city of Jerusalem, which he founded. And it's the city of Dowd. And the Romans are acting like they're in charge. Now, if you want to have a trial and somebody says, are you king? You're damn right.
Yeah.
I'm the king. This is my country. You're in my city. This is the city of Dowd. And yeah, I'm king. What are you going to do about it?
Yeah.
Well, we're going to crucify. Okay, well, let's get on with it. That's why I'm here.
Yeah. Well,
yeah.
You will have you say the divine rod of justice to get especially Yehudim who collaborated, the worst of which is Polos, writing a chapter called Romans. And don't forget Herod and his ilk.
Yes. Yeah, Herod was a really disgusting human being. It's why I'm just so stunned that Jews would pray to the rock wall that Herod built. That's Herod's wall. Every stone is carved with Herod's signature, which is that flat, smooth area around the four edges of a stone. That's Herod's wall, and that's not a wall for the temple. That's just a retaining wall that he built, and he was scum. And so for them to pray to those stones just shows you how lost they are.
Somebody ought to write a medical report about that man's death. It'd be really interesting.
Herod's death?
Yeah. Yeah.
How did Herod die?
Ooh.
Yeah, all kind of.
Let's just say he had rotting flesh between his legs.
Ooh.
Yeah.
So,
and you could smell him before you could see him.
A venereal disease of some sort?
I would no. I would guess it's the sort of disease that you would get if you were into necrophilia.
Ooh.
Okay. Oh, man.
Well, it sounds like what you're describing, Leah.
On that cheery note, yes. Which makes praying to that wall even more vile and disgusting.
So we have the king of the cables over here. You've had 2 very, very long days there. Rich, how are you?
I'm good.
There's Rich. He turned on the camera.
It all pays the same. Things are working. So
yeah. We had a lovely dinner, both 2 nights in a row, and spectacular time around the fire. We've really melded into a very effective team. We don't have Perry inside here. I think he's outside practicing on his shofar. Well, maybe we'll get him to blow his shofar. I'm sure he's listening to the show. He's sitting just outside our main door. He's going to be the keeper of the fire here as well. So maybe we can get Perry to acknowledge us by blowing the shofar, and we'll hear it remotely. As we're doing that, Kevin, would you mind playing? We'll play the first of the 2 songs we have for this evening, and then we'll move on to the next one. Which is the first one you're going to play? And please introduce it.
I think we lost Kevin.
We don't.
There we go. I'm back. Yeah. Okay.
Okay, you're back.
I think the first video we're going to do is "Prove It with a Kiss." I can do the technical aspects of the video. I think Leah would be better off kind of describing more about the some symbolism of the video and everything. So it wasn't just a collaboration between Leah did the music, and I think this is one that she kind of just oversaw Matt and Moria working on the visuals and everything. So.
Yeah, they've become quite the team on.
They did a really good job
on graphic.
Yeah,
it's. I don't
Video
think you can have 2
good.
more different people than Mariah and Matt, and yet the collaboration has been absolutely spectacular. So I guess if you're devoted to working with and supporting and his message, some of the oddest marriages work beautifully. And that is one that is, well, we're gonna look at that collaboration. It is absolutely magnificent and what they have been able to do. So much of the graphics that you see now throughout our site, a lot of it is Matt and Mariah. And of course, some of these interesting animations with Wookiee. That's John Voight. So we've got a good team contributing. So what's the nature of the song, Leah?
This song is called "Prove It with a Kiss," and it's a love ballad. So let's just go with that.
Okay, so it's a love ballad that is proven with a kiss. Please, let's play it.
In the beginning you spoke, and the light kissed the void. Son of Yah's beloved, rising over endless formless sky. Every word you spoke turned to warmth upon her face, calling Israel from the night to come and walk in light.
I keep your name between my lips from morning till night. Words are called upon into your hands, stay tangled in my thoughts and dreams. You say you are brave, prove it with a kiss, my love. Ours is a covenant of blood. Let the sky split with thunder, let the waters flow, and then kiss me with your caress.
From the quiet of the moon I answer, bright and clear, little light compared to, yet set to guard your way by night, my love.
I'm Yahowah's favor, gentle silver on your tears, tracing every lonely step you take until you turn to him in truth. You talk about courage, prove it with a kiss.
Sun for signs and seasons, moon to mark the Mow'edym days, the beloved to show the day of day. Sun on your shoulders and the moon at your back. We circle over Israel, telling time in Yah's own ways. You notice us not. Let the sky split with thunder, let the water flow on the mount of Yahowah.
Calling from the dawn and from the darkened sky above, back to Towrah, back to Covenant, back to Yahowah's perfect love.
Come home, barren woman, sing, for your children rise at dawn.
Your desolation breaks like morning, all your midnight tears are gone.
In your light I see my story,
in your wounds I see my own.
All three in promise, lead the woman back to her home.
Once you were forsaken, like a wife of fleeting youth,
yet I swore with blood and breath to show you the way home.
From a barren, empty heart you have built a home for Yahowah's name.
Children born at break of day, standing in the gate will sing and dance in joy.
At the dawn of a new day, Zion wakes and starts to sing. Desert wound becomes a garden, every field begins to bloom. Dowd ascends in power, moon of Yada fades in peace. For Yahowah walks among his own, and every exile finds release.
Let the sky break open with thunder and smoke.
Let the water
Oh, love it. You can see Wookiee staring at the screen. Wookiee fancies himself a lion of sorts, and he could really relate to those bees. We saw a lot of young Leia woven through that story. That's Leia from a few years ago. She's 5,400 years old, so she's aged really quite well considering. But that was a younger Leia from a time ago. The white lion and lioness is something we learned of quite recently. They're the ones that take down Rahab, who is Satan incarnate. He is Donald Trump. And,
do you know how rare white lions are?
Yeah, they are.
They're extremely rare.
Yeah. So Yahowah spoke of a white lion and a white lioness and how they take down Rahab. So there was Leia in the midst of them. It's a lovely song. It talks about so many different themes. I think with Leia's songs, to understand all of the lyrics and even the graphics, I think we need a Cliff Notes. We'll have to assign somebody that as we post these things. Here's a 10-page summary of this song and of the imagery and of the lyrics.
We'll tag it at the end. We'll tag it on the end.
To
next
tag
time.
it. Yeah. Here's
the study guide.
I'm going to tell you all about it. Maybe you'll play it again and you'll enjoy it more even the second time.
Or maybe they'll just get interested and read the books.
Yeah, that's true. If you can read the books, you would you'd come to have an appreciation of all of that. So what'd you think of that, Jake?
We cut out.
Oh, you cut out? Oh.
We didn't get to hear the song. We went and heard the first bar, and then we just got back in.
What happened?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. Mike, you were able to hear it?
I could hear it.
Yeah. Did you see it too, or just hear it?
Well, I was looking at the internet to the thing that Leo was talking about. So he died of Fournier gangrene. Herod did. It's pretty disgusting. They have pictures of it, like on
he looked it up. He looked up Herod's disease.
Wow. It's a nasty
That's
thing.
what I do, you know. I mean, I can't help it. You say something, I gotta look. I gotta have to fact check.
Curiosity killed the cat.
Yeah.
Hey, Mike. Yeah, I got to tell you.
So
Fournier's gangrene.
Yeah, Mike is going to check it out. Yeah, it's good.
Necrotizing fasciitis of the perineum.
Yeah, it starts in the scrotum.
It does, huh?
Yeah, I just had a case here last week of a young kid with it.
Wow.
Really? Little penicillin will take care of that, right?
What?
Well, according to Wikipedia, it's like 1 in 62,500 males a year get it.
So 1 in 62,000. So I wouldn't think it'd be all that.
It's not super rare, I guess. I mean, it's rare, I guess, but not super
rare. Come on down. I'll show you rare.
What's the statistics on necrophiliacs? What's the statistics on necrophiliacs? So, I mean, there could be a direct correlation there. 1 in 2,000 people are
Pakistan. Yeah, Pakistan. They actually have
right.
The tombs of daughters up. So the
most common scenario we see now is in individuals who are diabetic who don't take care of themselves.
That's pretty nasty too, isn't it? The flesh just rots.
Yeah.
Right, it sloughs right off.
Wow. Yeah. All right. Well, JB, we were together for a long time before we realized how Passover was fulfilled. That Dowd carried our guilt into Sheol, which is the equivalent of a black hole, and deposited there so that it would never be seen again, making us appear innocent before God. The first time you heard that, what were your thoughts?
It made sense. I mean, at that point, we'd had so much about Dowd that we had read. I think at first we were kind of explaining it as, oh, well, maybe it was his soul reborn, and but or he was taken forward to witness it. We went through a bunch of different ideas before kind of settling down, but it made sense. It just once you read it in Psalm 22, it clicks.
Yes. Yeah,
I think undeniable.
Yeah, I think it is, and even also in Psalm 88. Mike, I know you want to fact check it, but what were your thoughts? I mean, it's the most profound, amongst the most profound realizations there is. That I would say that the realization that Dowd fulfilled Passover as the Passover lamb and that he was reborn into that role to do that, is a bigger discovery because of all of the religions that talk about crucifixion and what mythical Jesus endured to find out it was actually Dowd, is probably a more striking discovery, and not so not quite as difficult to process. But what were your thought about the fact that it was his physical body that fulfilled Pesach and his soul carrying our guilt into Sheol, to deposit it there so it would never be seen again? It's taking it to the place where God himself won't go.
Well, I do remember several years ago on Blog Talk Radio, I think it was, that JB pointed out that Psalm 22 was written in first person. And then Kirk after that said, you're going to have to rewrite all your books. And then you researched it further and came up with that conclusion. So, yeah.
Well, like you, Yada. Oh, I'm sorry. I was going to say I had a bromance with Dowd too. And then, when he became the Pesach IL, or when I realized that he became the Pesach IL, it was really transformative. Dowd went from a lovable rogue to really somebody I was more in awe of. And I'm just really in awe. And he kind of elevated. I didn't think he could elevate, but in fact, he did elevate in my eyes to he took a higher place. And I think you even noted, Yada, you said something like Dowd right now is probably what we would envision God to be. He's probably like that, because you can't really get your arms around that seventh dimension and take all that in. But Dowd just really ratcheted up, and I've just been in awe really ever since. He's held a different place since then.
It's why Yahweh refers to him as Elyon. For God to say he is my son and I'm his father, for God to say he is my firstborn, that's the best title I think a person could have. If you could have any one of Dowd's titles and said, I'd like to share one with you, firstborn and beloved son would be the first one I would go with. That's as good as it gets. But for God to say that he is Elyon, that he is all things pursuant to the influence of the Almighty, says that you're right, that Dowd is the very reflection of God in our presence. And what I think is so interesting about that is that Dowd was not perfect. A long way from it. And so I don't think even God's claiming to be perfect. I think God wants to have us know that he's honest and that he is consistent, but that he doesn't want to convey the idea of perfect, because if he were perfect or we were perfect, there'd be no point to us having a relationship. There'd be nothing that any of us could accomplish. We couldn't relate, nothing of benefit in this whole relationship. And Dowd is the epitome of not perfect, but having every flaw carried away and put in Sheol.
If you're perfect, can you still grow? And
no,
if you can't grow,
so.
you can't grow
too. Game over, right?
It's game over. No, if you're perfect, you can't grow. You can't learn.
Like that would suck.
There'd be no way to learn if you're perfect. There would be no way to fail and prove your worth, because you would never have any way of proving your value if you were perfect. You would have no way to enhance a relationship. In fact, if you were perfect, you would be so intimidating to the person you're trying to have a relationship with. All you would do is frustrate them. You never measure up. No, I think it'd be a terrible thing. That's why God's not looking for perfect. It's why when we went back and looked at the verbal root of tamim, and you find tamam, that it is to finish the job. To be complete. That's why when they're talking about the Passover lamb, and it's always a perfect lamb. Well, it's tamim, and therefore, when you go to the verbal root, it's a lamb that is complete and capable of doing what is required to serve as the Passover lamb. And so it can't be sick. It's we don't want one that's it's got 3 legs or mange, or where it's obviously not capable of so scrawny couldn't feed the family. It's got to be a lamb that's capable of doing the job of serving in that role. And so it's not, because there's no such thing as a perfect lamb either. So it's just that was a huge development. And Jake, have you ever thought about what it would be like not only to have fulfilled Pesach and have your body all beaten up, but what would it be like to actually have to go into hell? Can you imagine that?
I'm not. Well, I mean, I've thought about what Dowd endured. But
we did talk about We've been talking about Tamaim, and that what Yahowah is kind of calling us to now is to be dependable and reliable and people who he can count on. Because at the end of the day, I mean, Zarawas and these souls that get reinserted, they're dependable people. He wants it he wants to know, when I send this guy or this girl in, they're gonna, their character's gonna come out, the integrity, it's gonna show.
That's the key thing that I think God was saying when he picked the people that he was going to redeploy, is that these were people he knew that he could rely on to see it through, to get the job done. It wouldn't be perfect. They're not looking for that, but they'd ultimately get the job done. They'd stay until it was done. And that was good enough.
Yeah.
I would think as father and son, that the realization that God is not looking for perfect, but he is looking for someone that can be relied upon, that makes mistakes on occasionally, learns from them, trips and falls sometimes because you have the freedom to do that, but gets up and gets going again, that you have the opportunity to show one another that you're there for each other, that you'll see it through. Yeah. You'll always be there to support one another. What a wonderful way to communicate as father and son.
It is. We're incredibly blessed.
Definitely. Yes.
Really.
Yeah, I think that's it. It changes the whole dynamic. Yeah,
it's really a great model for us. Right? Yeah. Seeing how Dowd or Yahowah looked at Dowd helped me to change my perspective on how to perceive Jake's mistakes, things that he's done wrong, just general, not, well, there are times he doesn't finish the job, right? So he's a kid, so you want to teach them. But yeah, that's, I have a whole different way of looking at him and trying to use that as the model.
Right. And it's more comfortable for you, Jake, to be, much more comfortable. And you can even look at a failure, because we all do it. You can look at a failure as an opportunity. It's a good thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because that's how you can learn. That's how you can become better. And you too, you can make a mistake in life or in parenting. And you can say, that wasn't the best of all the options that I had available to me. That wasn't the best. I apologize for that. And I learned from it. And, I want to talk about it. We can talk about it and grow from it.
Yeah. Exactly.
It takes the pressure off.
Yeah.
Yes, definitely. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that my favorite illustration of this, and I've thought more and more of it, is Noah. Here's Yahowah. He's saying, I goofed. I regret when you say I regret having conceived man, that's admitting you made a mistake, right? You don't say I regret doing this unless unless you're acknowledging you made a mistake. And so God's acknowledging he made a mistake. And rather than just saying, okay, I made a mistake, I'm going to end this, God gave us the example that we should follow. He admitted he made a mistake, that it didn't work out the way that he anticipated. And rather than giving up, he says, no, we're going to make this work. Yeah. And what he did is that rather than saying, I'm going to snap my fingers and just change everything, he says, I'm going to show you, and I'm going to prove that this human thing, a man with an asama, is capable, men and women working together are capable of resolving even the most difficult of all situations, which was a man with an asama was just horrible, brutal, vicious, political, religious, militaristic. And he says, I think we can reboot the system and start again. And I'm going to show you that I can work with a person and his wife and his children and their wives. And we're going to prove that humans can meet the call. That they can do this. So God could have said, I'm just going to zap, I'm going to create an ark and I'm going to save 8 people. You're the best 8. So, jump aboard and we'll go from there and we'll have a couple of the animals. It could have been a miracle. But he said, no, we're just going to see. I'm going to show you that this is possible, that humans can listen. They can be thoughtful, they can be responsive, and they can see it through. And I think that Noach doesn't get the credit for really saving the Salma man. And we don't give God the credit for recognizing the problem and doing what he is asking of us. You make a mistake, you learn from it, and you move on from there and try to correct it and work with others to get it done. So I just think it's one of the great stories. And it was the thing that when I recognized that there was a 0% possibility that God's going to risk the universe and this whole human Nasalma experiment with somebody who could not have known him, independent of Noach being the next iteration of Chanukh. There'd been no way for him to know God. There'd been no way for him to prove to God that this remedy would work, that he would see it through. That was a lot of work to do what he did. And so it was my first just affirmation. We're on the right track here. That story only makes sense from this perspective. And then you go back one step further. Go ahead.
I was going to say, would you say, Craig, that Yah gave us the perfect metaphor for not being perfect, the perfect examples for not being perfect?
Yes, he did. Of himself.
For himself. There you go.
For himself.
For himself, then Ruth and Boaz, so on and so forth.
It's okay to make a mistake. I've made them. That's what he's saying. I've made a mistake, and I'm going to give you some advice as to how to fix it. And we fixed it.
And you ask
the covenant is the fix. The covenant is the fix. And if you listen to my instructions, we'll fix this together. But you got to participate.
You ask any religious person, Yah has to be, whatever they use they don't even use the term Yah. He has to be perfect. He has to be omnipresent, omniscient, omni-everything, which is all a bunch of nonsense.
If God were omniscient and he knew everything, which is what the religious claim of him. That's what Allah claims of himself and what is claimed of the Christian God. If he is omniscient, then there can be no salvation.
The religious have always used perfection as a weapon.
Yes.
To subjugate you, to subdue you into obedience. That's what they want.
That's why I think this whole concept of Matzah, which we're celebrating tonight, is so magnificent. Because what it shows is that it is possible for God not to know. The way that God went about not knowing and never being able to know is to take everything that we have done that would be inappropriate and deposit it in Sheol, the place that he can never go, where nothing is ever released. So it is the whole concept of Matzah says that God is not, by design, omniscient.
Yep.
I think it's brilliant. The plan for the whole thing and why it works so beautifully.
Yeah, presuming they weren't rhetorical questions. That in the garden when he's looking for Adam and Chawah, and he's like, where are you? And they were hiding from him. And then the same question to Hebel was, what have you done to your brother? I mean, assuming they're not, as long as they're not rhetorical questions, that shows no omniscience right there.
Yes. Yeah. Why did you do this thing? Why did you do this thing? And what he's looking for, because he had written those instructions or given those instructions in the imperfect conjugation, which means that if Adam was chomping down on the tree of knowledge prematurely, and he just said, wait a minute, we're not supposed to be doing this, and just set it down. He's good. He's no longer in violation of the instruction. And if he had told Yahowah, when Yahowah says, why did you do this thing? If he had just said, I'm not doing this thing anymore. I've set it down. I've learned my lesson. I'll never do that again. we'd be all good to go. But he didn't. He just said, no, the woman you gave me, she gave it to me. It's your fault.
Right.
Yeah. He blamed God. Yeah, it wasn't my fault. It was the woman you gave to me. She gave it to me. Your fault, God. So he gave them the opportunity to come clean, but they didn't. And so I just think that the whole Noach story, and then you're thinking it through, and you're saying, all right, I want to understand what it was with Chinook. And when you think of Chinook, we're way before the Torah. We don't have any indication that Yahweh spoke to anyone outside the garden.
Right.
So how could Chinook have impressed Yahweh to the point that Yahweh says, that's my guy. I like that guy. I'm going to take that guy right now. What is possible under that circumstance that Chinook could have done something where he came to know Yahweh and impressed Yahweh, showing Yahweh that he was valuable, that he was worth being taken, so that, because the only purpose of taking him, because Yahweh was going to be able to know him anyway, because of, he did the right thing. The only reason for taking him early is to redeploy him. So what do you think? How did Chinook come to know Yahweh and then impress Yahweh?
Yeah, from the only other person that knew him.
Well, he may have just demonstrated great character and integrity in his business dealings with his fellow man, and with his family, he just may have shown, a lot of leadership and just had those types of qualities.
Yeah, I don't think that would have done it.
No,
I don't think that would have done it.
He learned it from the only other person that knew, from Adam.
Correct.
Yeah, because it wasn't Cain was gone. He was, hey, you got to go. We're going to put a sign on you. Get out of here. And so he wasn't chatting with him. The only person left is Adam.
Right. And so that's why the timeline works out the way that it does. That the last 300 years of Adam's life, Chinook listened to him, came to know Yahweh through him. And then once he came to know Yahweh through him, he had the wherewithal to say, wow, this is really interesting. Can I share with you what I think it went wrong here and what needs to be done to make it right? And he supported Adam as if his brother, and did so for years as the one way that he could have earned Yah's trust. And then if you take it one step further, when Yahweh is announcing that Adam is Dowd, which is the only way that Dowd becomes his firstborn, because he literally breathed the Sama and the Nefesh into Dowd. He created him uniquely for this purpose. So he's Yahweh's firstborn. He loves him. And here's a man that came to embrace him, to support him, to listen to him, to encourage him. And I think that it was Chinook developing a relationship with Adam, who was Dowd, right then and there, that set the script for everything that follows. And since we know that Adam is Dowd, I think that is the answer. It fits the story so beautifully. And, when you're going back all that time, 5,400 years ago, the area where there were Nesalma man, where there were humans with a Nesalma, was very small. It was just around the area of Lake Van in eastern Turkey, where Eden was, based upon the headwaters of all of those rivers. And therefore, around the shores of the Black Sea, possibly, but that's very close by. That's where all Nesalma man would have been. And they would have been so much more intellectually stimulating to talk to than anyone else, that they would have known each other. They would have been quite famous, quite capable, quite competent. And so I think that Chinook, who is the sixth generation from Adam, they got to know each other. And, you look at the timeline, he would have had 300 years with him. It's a long time to to be able to bond. And so I think that's the answer. And I think they came back as father and son later, with Noach being Chanoch again, and Shem being Dowd again. And I think that's the light between those, the end of Adam's existence and Shem at creating the offspring that became the children of Israel. I think that that is how Dowd managed to impress Yahowah, to the point that when he gave him, I think, one other opportunity to shine. We don't know a lot about Dowd and Dowd from the story of Moshe, but there is a lot of hints as to what the two of them likely were in support, going all the way back to the birth of Moshe, and just quietly behind the scenes to keep that from falling apart, because Moshe was always on edge. And this was something where God could not afford for it to fail. He had to get the Torah revealed. He had to get them to the promised land. And so I think that Dowd and Dowd, having both have had 2 lives prior to this, got it to that point. And they're very quietly behind the scenes, and God's telling you that they're there. They're there. But it is the Moshe and the children of Israel show, and they're just there as guardrails for support. And that's why they're introduced by name at the darkest moment, when Moshe says, "I want you to kill me. I can't do this anymore. I'm giving up." And that's when they appear. And Moshe says, "No, let them keep on prophesying. That's what we need them to do. This is the solution." And he knew who they were and why they were there. So I think it's a beautiful presentation of it. I also thought it was interesting that when you really detail and you get into what we've learned about words in the 22nd Mizmowr, it's pretty clear that Dowd, right in the middle of it, he is just exceedingly grateful in this life that he had the love and support of a mother. Mm-hmm. And that the Eoluth is his supportive father. He's that prominent tree that he could lean against and provide the knowledge that he was going to need to carry on. And so it's really, it's just so, it was one of the most heartwarming things I had ever encountered. We were sharing a Mizmowr out there in the Ocean Studio, and we were talking about this, and one of the Mizmowr, it said that I was there. And then you study the story of Ruth and Boaz, and she's the Amma, and she tells him, I'm going to deliver the kinsman redeemer to you. And then you find the same character in Yeshaya 7, the 7th chapter, that's so stolen on behalf of Christianity, which doesn't speak of a virgin of all, but of someone who's been here before and will be here again. And you realize that when he says, you're going to call his name Emmanuel, that when God brought Dowd back to fulfill Pesach, Matsah, and Bikurim, he couldn't have come back with a full knowledge of what heaven was like and a full knowledge of his prior lives, because that would just be overwhelming and it'd be cheating the whole system. But it was his soul, so his attributes, his attitudes, his resilience, his intelligence, his personality was there. But he had to have a mom and a dad who stood by him, were there every step of the way with him, that taught him what they knew. And so the reason I think they were told to call the kinsman redeemer, Ruth and Boaz were told to call the kinsman redeemer Emmanuel, God with us, is the same reason that Christianity came up with that Star of Bethlehem. It was there at the birth. And the brilliance that was in Bethlehem at the birth, which that was the hometown of Ruth and Boaz, by the way, and of Dowd, that Yahowah, not all of Yahowah, but certainly a brilliant light of Yahowah showed up at the birth, That's why it was called Emmanuel, God's with us. And for the next 30 years, we loved and taught and cherished Dowd to the point that he manned up. He did what he was supposed to do. But he didn't do it alone. He was supported every step of the way. And it appears to me, reading the 22nd Psalm, that he didn't go into hell alone either. I think he was. I think he had a loving father that said, "No, my kid's not going to do any of this alone." And I remember, Jake, you're here with your dad. I remember my youngest son. Brilliant. He's very much like Dowd, passionate, emotional, exceedingly loyal, but uncommonly brilliant. A man of great character, and the world doesn't treat people like that very well. And my son, he's had his share of heartaches. In fact, we had a long call today. And I remember that there's at least a dozen times where he was someplace off to school or involved in something. And I listened to him. I could tell the tone of his voice. I got in my airplane. I flew to where he was. I'd spend a week with him. We'd resolve the problem. And then we'd fight through it for months after that. But I was always, every time he had a hurt, I was there to support him. And so you're going to be put in a position where you're raising Dowd to serve as the Passover lamb. You're not going to say, okay, now it's your time to go shine. You have a really good day there, son. No, you're just not. You're gonna be there right with him. Yeah. Passover and Matsah. And you don't want any credit for it. You just I'm telling you the story now, not to garner credit because I didn't do the work. I was just there because that's the way Yahowah would be. He's a father. He loves his son. He knows these two have a lifelong millennial relationship, and he wasn't going to break them apart. Not at that time. Yeah. So we did it together.
Talk about the reverence Yahowah has for relationships and how respectful he is of them. You know, Yahowah is just really, he's just really something else when you get to know him. He's just, everything about him is sweet and friendly. You know, you get past the religion and political thing and you get serious with him and Dowd and following his instructions. I mean, it's just unbelievable where it can lead. You know, just
and Will, the thing that was so reinforcing to me, and I know this puts us out beyond what can be appreciated by a newbie. If you're listening to this for the first time, we're just speaking at a level now that's way beyond you, and that's okay because we've made the transition to realize that our responsibility now is to establish the covenant family so that we're prepared to do the job that Yahowah has in store for us over these next 7 years. So that, and we want to have our website at yada.com. That, and the purpose of it is to be the home for Yahowah's name. And so that is what we're doing. But for me, and I think for the most mature covenant members, this most recent realization that there are souls that Yahowah favors to the extent that he trusts. They're not perfect. They're just reliable. They will go in. You know, when humankind was about to be extinguished, Noah was that guy. When Dowd, as Adam, was really distraught, having so many years outside the garden and how rough that was, and he was the one person who knew better what it was like to be better. He was supported at a time that was essential. And then, you know, when Yahowah tells Leah, you know, you need to go ask Ruth, because that's actually going to lead you to where you need to be. And then you find out she is Ruth, and she is delivering the kinsman redeemer, and she is the Amma. And we hear Dowd just wax prophetically and poetically to Yahowah about, you know, yeah, I've just got to thank you. You saved me with the Amma. You brought my mother in. Your Amma. and she saved me. And then you realize the contribution of the 89th Mizmowr and how this was the single most pivotal moment in human history when Dowd fell flat on his face and he and Yahowah weren't talking. And that's not rectified. We're not here. There is no fulfillment of Pesach, Matzah, and Bakorim. There's no way to resolve the human experiment. We're done. There is no plan B here. And so God sent in the same people because they'd been buds for millennia already, and said, you guys will figure it out. And the trust he had, and the way that he went about it with the Amma literally serving as his mother. She had a terrible birth mother, but that doesn't matter if you have an adoptive mother that's going to be there for you. And it's kind of in some ways, I think what God is doing is he's debuting what he intends to do with us when we are more like him. It's that kind of support. You can't get any more loving and tremendous support than you can as a mother and father. And it doesn't matter if it's, in fact, sometimes it's better if it's not blood. Sometimes it's better if it's devotion. I just think it richens the story, and then to realize that it was Ruth and Boaz who did exactly as Yahowah had them say. And can you imagine how she is going to be telling him, Boaz, when all she really knows of Boaz that he's the big honker in Bethlehem, and she was there to harvest some grain for her mother-in-law, and she knew Boaz would spot her. She knew that Boaz had an eye for pretty girls, and he did, and she did, and their first conversation, she's saying, "Oh yeah, I'm your Amma, I'm your productive mother. Yeah, I'm your Amma, and I'm going to deliver the kinsman redeemer." And then Boaz's name becomes one of the two columns on the temple. And when you read this kind of stuff, and by the way, they're in Bethlehem. And they're involved in a harvest. You read this kind of stuff and you say, "Oh, that's some really clever plot smithing there." Yeah, you
left out some major points.
Like what?
Yes, they were on the threshing floor.
Yes, they were.
It is the day.
They were on the threshing
day of the harvest.
Yes, they were.
And she was instructed explicitly to put her head on his kanaf.
Yes.
On the corner of his, under his wing,
yes.
under his protection.
Yes. And then cover me on it. And you know why that was there? Is because Noach, who had been Boaz previously, had been Chanuk previously, that whole story of Japheth and Shem, and the dad had a little too much wine one night, and was I guess frisky with Mrs. Noach, and didn't see the reason to get dressed. I know the situation quite well, and son walked in, saw dad. Wearing nothing
I can
but a
vouch
smile.
for it. No pants Sunday.
Yeah, no pants Sunday, as we call it around here, and saw that, and so the whole reason, because there's no big deal. Okay, so the only reason for the story is God's going to play that story out again with Ruth and Boaz, because Noach and his wife and Ruth and Boaz, the same two people, mother and father of
one where the woman was uncovered, and this one where she is covered.
Yes. So isn't it? It's just a beautiful story, the way that it's woven all together. And what, as Yahowah says, I'm not going to leave the people that are essential to keeping my plan apace. I'm never going to leave them unsupported. When any one of them has to do something extraordinary, I'm going to be there for them, one way or another. For Yahowah to say, all right, you're going to serve as the Adam of Parah. That's a pretty gruesome task on Teruah. I'm there with Ilya. I've gotten to know him. I've served with him for 3.5 years up to that point. He's a really likable, fun guy. He is witty as all get out. He's going to be the best partner in the history of partners. And so I'm not alone. I'm there with Ilya. And then I think what God is saying through the 8 of Shabuah is your team's there with you too. You're not there alone. You're going to have all the support that you could possibly need.
Yahowah stands in the standing place with Dowd, and he'll stand there with you.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, so that's why I love everything there is to know about God's story, and the more we dig into and learn about how He has gone about supporting each of us as we serve to advance, particularly the Mow'edym, never letting us be alone. We're always supported. Here we are on this island, and Perry and Rich show up. Joe came here twice. Kirk, you and Sylvia have been here. So it just got, God does not allow us to be alone. He knows that we need support. You need family. And you need to go through some heartaches here and there. I'm talking about this in heartaches. Kirk, you had a chance to correspond with my good friend from down under. David Crawford is suffering from a more advanced version of what you have, and we're certainly thinking of him. We're hopeful that he does have a recovery. If we are looking at the harvest this year, which we're thinking it's going to be next year, and this is just the year for the start of Israel's troubles. But if it is this year, then it's going to be a non-event to him, because we'll all be out of here before any effect of this disease. We'll all leave together. And if it isn't, then he's going to be the welcoming party when we get there a year from now. Or he's going to have an amazing recovery. They can do some marvelous things, and let's hope that happens as well. But David Crawford has been a really important contributor to our journey. Mike, you were talking about how it was Kirk that said, hey, that thing is, or was it JB, one of the two of you were saying, that 22nd Psalm's written in first person. You probably want to go back through and deal with it, because it's written in first person by Dowd. And let's consider what the implications of that are. It was our friend David from down under who was listening and irritated by New Zealand broadcasts that were saying that Galatians proves that the Torah is done with, and that it has been replaced, and that no longer has any value. And he wrote me, he says, so up to you now. Why don't you deal with this? Because that doesn't seem to be something that's even remotely possible. And we did the first run through on I think it was the Great Galatians Debate was the first working title. Question the Great Galatians Debate. And then we rewrote it. It's Questioning Paul, and now it's Twistianity in 5 volumes. But that whole process of coming to repudiate the Christian New Testament is a result of correspondence with the Dowd down under, our friend David Crawford, and his family and his contribution, the great Kiwi rancher. And he's just a man's man. He reminds me a lot of his namesake, Dowd, a man of character, of intellect. He's made huge contributions. He is still a significant contributor on the Facebook site, for example. He'll post many comments in support of what we're trying to achieve. So we're hoping for the best of with our good friend. And Sonia, you're going to have a test too to show how clean you are, aren't you, Kirk?
Pretty soon. Yeah.
Okay.
Can I just interject one thing? I know you're trying to keep it less hours today.
Yeah.
But from a almost 20-year perspective, there's been a truth bomb from the first time I picked up Yada Yada. There's a truth bomb every time I turn around, and just long enough to get me to grasp it all. But when you came up with the mechanism where Yah uses souls repeatedly, and Dowd and so forth, and y'all and probably many others, it didn't faze me at all. It kind of like all the shoes dropped, or whatever the expression is. I was just amazed at how good the product. I mean, how good the story is filled in all the gaps. I mean, I'm sure there's some gaps in it's supposed to be Sponge Explorer, but if we went out to Shabuah this year, I think you left a body of work that if you can't find Yahweh, you don't want to. I mean,
That's correct.
This is just amazing. It really does fit together. It's not scary. It's not weird.
No.
It has to work that way.
It's loving. It's compassionate. It shows this great devotion to his creation. And it shows that Yahweh did find people he can trust. And so long as there's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, 6, 8 people that demonstrate to him that they're trustworthy, then the whole human experiment was worthwhile. Because if there's 8, there can be 80. And if there's 80, there can be 800. And 800, there could be 8,000.
I think it's a fantastic narrative that doesn't need to sell itself.
Yeah, I do too. Yeah, it was all Leia's fault initially.
With a double plot twist at the end.
Leah says, hey, you need to deal with the 31st mashal. By the way, the 30th mashal is that one that does this marvelous job of who do you say God is? Who do you say his son is? Certainly what is God's name and what is the name of his son? Surely you know. And that's the nature of the 30th mashal, and it leads then to the 31st, the final word picture, where it's obviously Dowd and is being supported by a stepmother and her husband, Baal, called Baal, husband. By the way, for those that are having a tough time with that, there's 2 places where Yahweh calls himself Baal, and one of them happens to be in Yirmiyah 31. Where he says, I was Baal to you. I was your husband. And another is in Yashayah. So there's 2 places where Yahweh actually refers to himself using that term. So it's like everything else in Hebrew. It can be used very positively. A husband and marriage partner, that God loves that metaphor and obviously uses it a lot. He's been using it that we know of for certain for 6,000 years. So it was important to him. But when she came in with that, my first response was to Leah. I said, no, not going there, Leah. I have had my full quota on titles and responsibility. I'm not accepting any more titles and no more responsibility. So if you've got another title and another responsibility, please keep it to yourself.
No, you told me to go away.
Go away.
Did I go away?
Yeah.
No, I did not.
Seriously, I mean, when you consider all of the titles and all of the responsibility, and every time you turn around, you're finding yourself again with a new responsibility. You say, okay, God, you push this responsibility thing, right past the limit. I mean, to the limit and then past the limit like 50 times. So let's tone it down because this isn't an accolade. I mean, this is you get another target on your head. No one's ever done any of this stuff that isn't torn to ribbons by people. It's a highly unpopular, highly vulnerable position. And the more things that God says about you that you have to go where the words lead and talk about it, the more vulnerable you become, the more enemies you have. And so when she came in and said, oh, I got one, you're not going to believe this was a big one. I said, no, just go away. I'm full up. No more. We've done too much already. And I said, all right.
I went out of your office and I went and talked to my father. And I said, you better sort him out because.
So Craig, are you basically telling us the positive and negative, the dark and light sides of being entitled?
Yeah. I want to tell you, you look at the people that were the most prominent that Yahweh gave titles to, that he worked through, and without an exception, they all said, just kill me. Dowd, it says, I'd rather it be me that died. Moshe says, I want you to kill me. And so did Elia. So, it's a tough damn job. And so, you're not soliciting titles with Yahowah. It's the more you have, the harder the job becomes. The more vulnerable, the more isolated you become. And so when she has it, I'm saying, all right. And I was in the middle of translating something, and it was really a profound insight that already. And I said, all right. And then she comes back, about 5 minutes later with, no, you're gonna deal with this. I just talked to Dad, and he says, you're gonna deal with this. All right. So we went through it together, and I read it in Hebrew and said, yeah, you got a point there. Yeah, okay. Well, all right. That's gonna stop everything. We're going to translate this. And when you get it through and you've translated it, then you've opened up everything. Then you're right to Leah calling herself the Asherah, Ashar. And then you're to Ruth calling herself the Amma and delivering the kinsman redeemer. And you're going through affirmation after affirmation. And then all of a sudden you say, oh, God, it's been there the whole time, hasn't it? And then you say, well, then I got to go back to the 89th Mizmowr, because that's the one that resolved Dowd. And I realized that it wasn't God's just proclamation to us. It's God's love letter to his son to wake his son up and to resolve the relationship. And then you look at Ethan Hezraki's name and what it means. And then that takes you to Chanuk's name and what it means. And by the time you're through, the whole story is right there before your eyes. And my experience was that yours, Kirk, that once you see all of this, it just resonates with you. And you said, oh, of course, this is Yahowah being Yahowah. This is exactly who he is.
Well, this is
I have to say, Craig, that there you go. It's basically become axiomatic, everybody, that you got to LTL. You got to LTL. Who is that certain person when you were captaining Kara on your journey, who made you, or I don't want to use the term who made you, who basically said, listen, you got to deal with Mizmowr 89. Look at this.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Look at this.
Yeah, it was the pee in the pants kind of thing. This is a moment. You're going to do it. You're going to do it right now. And I was in the middle, you can do a lot of things at once, but you can't do too many things at once. And it wasn't like I was out playing golf. We're on the boat, and I'm up in my study, and I'm doing my thing. I'm translating and commenting. And she says, I want you to do this. I said, well, I'm trying to finish a book here. Nope. You're going to do this.
No, you really need to read this.
You really need to do this. And it's transformative. It's the thing that transformed our lives at the time, though. Until quite recently, I didn't know that I wrote it. And now I feel a little bit
silly,
shy and silly to say it's the greatest piece of literature ever written. Now that I know I wrote it, but I really, to be fair, I co-authored it. God's responsible for the good parts, and even the parts that I co-authored, I'm speaking about him and getting prophecy about things that we're going to do together in the future. So, but it's still pretty cool to have your favorite piece of literature be something you participated in from long ago. And I want to share one passage for this show. We're going to play the other song that is queued up. But I thought this would be an appropriate thing to share, recognizing that Dowd on yesterday, back 7 years shy of 2,000 years ago, served as the Passover lamb for us. And that Dowd, we'll go ahead and light that fire, Rich, and get the camera going on it. And that Dowd then took our guilt into Sheol to deposit it there so that we would be innocent before God. It's the ultimate sacrifice. And he then celebrated what it was to be the firstborn son, Bikurim, as a result of all of this. And recognizing how special he is, I want to share what I think is one of the most beautiful bits of prose ever written about him. For indeed, a child was born. Before us, a son was given. He was provided as a gift and placed concerning us. The opportunity to learn what can be known on how to engage and endure, in addition to the responsibility and the authority to lead, was and will be on his shoulder, and predicated upon the eagerness in which he pursued his calling, particularly eager early in this life. His name, his reputation, and his renown, it has been read and recited as a counselor providing valuable advice, who is astonishingly brilliant. He's amazingly insightful. He is a Gabor, a valiant and heroic individual with a prominent military and political standing in the community. The most capable and competent and courageous man of God. He's an eternal witness, providing restoring testimony on behalf of the Father. He's the leader who conveys the authorized position on reconciliation and on restoration leading to salvation, tremendously increasing the ability for us to learn about and to respond to, the means to engage, to endure, to be liberated, and even to be empowered. As a result of this approach, reconciliation and restoration, complete satisfaction, and total contentment will be without end, without limit, never be negated, all upon the throne, the seat of honor, and the full moon reflecting his brilliance of Dowd, as well as upon his kingdom throughout his considered advice and through his counsel, so as to be prepared and to be established by it, and to be restored and sustained by it, with the means to exercise good judgment and to justly resolve disputes by being right. From then to now and forevermore. It is the deep devotion and the passion, the zeal and fervor of Yahowah, of the vast array of spiritual instruments, that has consistently engaged to make this happen. Yashayah, Isaiah 9, 6, and 7. So, Will, when you said you developed a bromance, which is using the term that was slathered on me for so many years when I first began to appreciate Dowd as a man, I appreciated his intellect.
You did a great job selling him.
And I shared my love, bromance for Dowd, and it's many of us have caught it. We all now have a great admiration for our king. Yeah. But guess what? We were beat to it. This is Yashayah speaking on behalf of Yahowah. So Yahowah's got a bromance with his boy too, doesn't he?
Yes, it does.
Yeah, man. Can you imagine having something like that written about you?
Wow.
And then can you imagine writing something about your son, Dowd, that is that eloquent, that is that profoundly important, prophetic, and it's such a tribute to Dowd. And you call his name out in the midst of it. And you even remind that that a son was given, and that you've told us 3 times that Dowd is your son and you're his father. And it speaks of him doing this for his father. And even with his name written in the midst of it, to have the most perverted religion, Twistianity, steal it and claim it on behalf of their mythical man god. Can you imagine how angry God has to be over that?
Yeah. I mean, on the one side of the ledger, you have how awesome it is, but then on the other, and I've just noticed over, these last couple of years, I do get more and more frustrated and personally insulted by Christianity. Before, it was just something that I had walked away from, thought it was useless. Then I learned how bad it was, realized it was evil. But now, when you start to have this relationship with Yahowah and you juxtapose and put that up there, wow, it's just really
hate what he hates.
Yeah, you talk about all the things that Dowd did for us, Pesach, Matsah, and Mow'edym. And then you read what Yahowah inspired Yahshua to write about his beloved son. And it takes your breath away, doesn't it?
Intimate and loving could Yahowah be?
Yes. He is all in with Dowd.
Yeah.
And we need to appreciate that. The only way to Yahowah is through his beloved son. Yeah. And his son isn't Jesus, it's Dowd.
Yeah.
And God didn't give up the title God. Dowd's not God.
No.
And man's not a God. God's not a man. Man's not a God. And men can't kill God. So what in the hell are so many 2.5 billion people? They're on Good Friday today. They're going to be celebrating Easter, a purely pagan holiday. So, yeah, I've gone from wanting to help Christians recognize that every aspect of the religion is a lie to just wanting to mock them.
Yes.
It's so disgusting. It's so reprehensible what they have done. Claiming that Jews killed their God.
Yeah.
It's just absolutely reprehensible.
If you think you're appalled by it, imagine the woman who bore him.
Yes.
Who never was a Christian.
Yeah.
To see
the
abject, vile, and disgusting lie that billions of people, of souls across time, have bowed their heads to.
Yeah, you're
utterly vile.
One of the first things that you told me.
Disgusting Easter Ishtar Day. Are you kidding?
Disgusting. One of the first things you told me is that you wanted to have a shirt that said, "I killed Jesus and I do it again." And the longer we go and all of this, the more I do it the same thing. Kirk, you give it the thumbs up. But yeah. In fact, I have now made... Yeah, I've now boldly posted on social media, I killed Jesus. But I did. I mean, I've absolutely killed Jesus. There's 5 books called Twistianity: Assassinate, Exterminate, Eradicate Jesus. Now, I killed him with words, but he needed to die. Jesus is a horrible,
can't really
horrible
kill
lie.
a myth with a sword.
You don't need you don't need violence. You need to use words wisely. Were you ever a Christian, Mike, or did you come to this from being an agnostic?
I was Christian briefly so my parents were not religious at all, so I rarely went to church when I was a kid. One of my friends in high school was a Christian, so I got baptized like the summer between senior, when I graduated high school and when I went to college. And then when I moved down to Texas in '86, I attended a Baptist church, a couple different Baptist churches for a while. But when I was a kid, we had a King James Bible, so I would read that on my own. I used to read quite a bit when I was a kid. So I knew a lot of the stuff that they were saying didn't jive, So then I was agnostic for a while, and then I got married. Then I found 2007, I went to Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, which is predominantly Muslim. So a coworker told me about Prophet of Doom. So I read that. And then I joined from that side, I found Yahowah at the time. And then I joined the Yada Yahweh forum in October 2007, which is about the same time JB did also. And so for a few years, I would consider myself a Christian. But I was going to say one thing: Christianity is really the most diabolical religion, because if they equated Good Friday today with Pesach, but they're not circumcised, most of them aren't circumcised. Luckily, I am. I was circumcised as a baby, luckily.
Yeah, me too.
But then if they don't celebrate, Matzah, then they're really screwed. I mean, so it's really diabolical. It's actually more diabolic in a way. It's more diabolical and sneaky than, Islam is just outright satanic. You have to be an idiot to not know that. I tried to read the Quran back in the late 80s. I checked it out of the library just to read it. And it was so evil, I had to put it down. It was like, and then I returned it to the library.
Have you, an honest answer is just fine here, because I went to 4,200 pages in the rewrite in 5 volumes, but I didn't want to leave any stone unturned. So I translated the whole Quran. I took the entire Quran and put it in the context of Muhammad's life and presented every hadith that was pertinent to explaining the Quran. And the rewrite of Prophet of Doom is Goddamn Religion. Are you one of the few that has been willing to endure that and has gone back to read it again?
Yeah, I fact checked it.
You did?
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. You fact checked the whole thing. Oh, that's great. Oh my God, yes. I'm sorry for asking the
fact check everything.
Oh my God.
Everything you send me anyway, I fact check.
I'm sorry for asking the question.
I didn't fact check your Shabbat paper yet. I've been busy fact checking CH.
Oh no, yeah, you did.
CH4.
So you know how detailed that was.
Oh yeah, sure.
Yeah, that is it is so comprehensive and so effectively condemning of Islam, and absolute proof in that book that not only Allah isn't a god, but Allah was modeled after Satan. And I thought that the single most telling insight from that book is actually the proof that that rabbis are responsible for the Quran. Without rabbis telling Talmud stories to Muhammad, there is no Quran. And in that new rewrite, I went systematically through all of the proof of the fact that the Talmud was just incorporated wholesale into the Quran, and that every twist of the Torah wasn't imagined by Allah or Muhammad. It came from the rabbis.
Yeah, you had me research that in the Talmud. So I went to safaria.org, I think it is, and they have all the Talmud books in there that you can search. So like the wheat trees and all these weird stories were they're in the Quran, actually right out of the Talmud.
Yes. Yeah, I remember doing that. I was saying, that's going to help a lot. I can get through this faster if you can do the research and tell me, because I had found like 20 of them, but I know there's more stories that were taken just wholesale out of the Talmud and put into the Quran. That whole story of David and the talking ants and singing to the birds, and the story of the Queen of Sheba and showing ankle, and these long surahs were literally pilfered almost word for word out of the Talmud.
Yeah,
it was quite an experience to go through that, and to know that you're doing something that is tremendously beneficial for God's people if you can only get them to read it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah, I think Rich did something that there is a 100-page open letter in that book predicting what Israel was going to do and why it would backfire on them. And they've done every one of those things, and it has backfired on them.
Everybody should go back and reread that.
Yeah, it's a real eye-opener. If you read my open letter to Israel, it's called At War with Religion. It's in the first volume of Goddamn Religion, Snake. It's something we should probably put up on the website just as one of the items for a resource. But yes, thank you for doing that, Mike. And it is that was one of the most difficult things I ever did, is going back to rewrite that book.
Yeah, it's like going into hell.
It is, isn't it? It's really, really dirty. It's people really don't have an understanding of just how repulsive Muhammad was, and how demonic Allah is. That's why when you spend that time to do that, to write the most comprehensive book ever written on the Quran, that once you've done that, and then you see Donald Trump, obviously demon possessed, it's really quite the experience to see Allah speaking right through Trump, and to realize they're essentially one of the same. It's why this current war is just so weird, because you've got Allah's religion, and he's Satan, and he's fighting Donald Trump, and he's Satan. It just showed that Satan really doesn't take sides. He's just
kill everybody.
humanity. Yeah, kill everybody. It's genocide. Indoctrinate everybody, kill everybody. What a grand situation. So long it kills everybody, then there's no fulfillment of the remaining mikra.
So I'm reading Coming Home 4, which isn't released yet, but
yes.
I think I've only read, I read almost all of it, but anyway, I think there's a portion in there where you're saying that Iran might invade Israel.
Yes.
But if they go by land, which they'll pretty much have to, they'll have to go through Syria, right? So isn't Syria Sunni Muslim and Iran is Shia Muslim? So you think some of the Sunnis will kill some of the Shiites as they're crossing the territory? Or they're just going to be unified?
No.
As long as they're against Israel, unified.
Yeah. We should probably do a full show on that, because it's such an interesting prophecy by Yahowah. He designates Iran as the nation that's going to provide the millions of warriors. And they're going to pick up jihadists along the way. No, what happened here, it's just so interesting to watch all this occur, is that with Israel and the United States attacking Iran, and being so brutal about it, and being so disgusting about it, they've actually created a situation where vast proportions of people around the world are rooting for Iran against the United States and Israel. Iran's become sympathetic because of what America is doing to it, and particularly in the Islamic world, where these family dictators that are allied with the United States, that are opposed to the Muslim country Iran, and are siding with Israel of all, and the United States, the great and the little Satan. It has put Iran in an entirely different position with the rank and file, particularly young Muslims around the world, whether they're Shia or Sunni. And so Iran has won the war narrative. The narrative of this war is that Iran is the victim. So they've gone from victimizer to victim, and they're very sympathetic victim at this point worldwide. And what they have done is they've isolated the family dictatorships in the Sunni Gulf states that sided with the United States, and put each of those family dictators in an incredibly difficult position. They're strongly worded messages, but none of them have done anything, because they can't attack Iran with Israel and the United States attacking Iran, because they're on the wrong side then, and their own constituents will kill them. And they know it, their constituents will kill them. And so they're incredibly vulnerable. And so, no, I'm positive that, first of all, when Iran goes through Iraq is just Iran West now, and 60% of them are Shias anyway. They're going to pick up hundreds of thousands of belligerents. And while there are a fair number of Shia Muslims in Syria, and Hezbollah did have a very heavy presence in Syria, and the myth that Hezbollah has been done away with, that was the myth in Lebanon, and look what's happened. Obviously, that wasn't true. No, I think that the Jolanis of the Islamic State, given the opportunity to join a crusade, use a weird term for it, but to join the last jihad against Israel, or to fight fellow Muslims, it's going to be overwhelmingly in favor of Yeah, we'll join you. We want to be part of the Great Jihad. We want points with Allah for killing Jews. So no, they're going to join them. They won't fight them. The only country that'll have a tough time will be the monarchy and in Jordan. But the Fakistinians in Jordan will absolutely want to join. Whether the Iranians will trust them or not, it's a different story. But they have to go through Iraq. That'll be easy. They'll go through Syria. And these are very easy territories to go through. And it's just, you can't do it the opposite way. Israel and the United States cannot invade Iran. It's impossible. The United States is likely to try to take over Chag Island and maybe some of the islands in the Strait of Hormuz, but they can't hold them. They can take them at great cost, and I'm sure that it's easy for the U.S. military to take them. But then you have to take the shoreline next to them, or you're going to be bombarded. And then once you take that shoreline, then you've got to take the high country above it. And then once you take the high country above it, you got to take the next ridge line and the next ridge line, the next ridge line. And you just have to keep on going until you need 2 to 4 million troops and hundreds of thousands of casualties. And the world's not going to stand for that. America's not going to stand for that. So it's an escalation. You just can't go back the other way. So there's no way for any nation to invade. But I do think that what you're going to see is this war doesn't have an end. And there's nothing really that would stop the Shia militias in Iraq, accompanied by the Revolutionary Guard Corps, taking over Kuwait and just moving down. The United States can't stop them anymore. And what you found is that even with hundreds of billions of dollars of U.S. weapon systems in Kuwait and Qatar and UAE and Saudi Arabia, they've got no one to use them.
Skill.
Yeah, they have no one to use them. So this is it's an amazingly difficult spot that Israel and the United States have put themselves in. There is no way for Israel or the United States to prevail, and the consequence to both countries is going to be unbelievably grievous to both countries. And Iran, with all of the beating that it's taken, has won the narrative. It's won the economic war. And it's going to continue to actually win the military war. So yeah, that's I would never have fathomed that it could have been Iran that was coordinating the millions of militants and jihadis that are going in. And then I was translating away and I'm in Yeshaya 13 and then into Yoel. The issue was always with the Air Force that Israel has, that what we've learned is you cannot move massive amounts of troops and armored personnel carriers and tanks today if a country is armed with lots of drones. Like Russia and Ukraine cannot marshal large numbers of troops against one another because the drones wipe them out and artillery wipes them out. Well, Israel doesn't have many drones. That's not the way Israel fights. Israel has some hand-me-down A-10s, but you fly an A-10 and you've got the shoulder-mounted Stingers, and you're really in trouble. And so the key thing was, is so long as they don't coalesce, so they don't march, close together, so that there can be bombed with the F-35s and that sort of thing, there's nothing to stop 2 million Iranians coming into Israel. But what the prophet said is that they're not going to be touching each other. They won't be bumping into each other. They're going to be coming in, marching in a way such that there are large gaps between them, which renders the defense that Israel would have moot. There's no way for Israel to stop them. And so to even explain the detail that I was saying, well, how can they do this? The prophecy actually explains it. So we'll do a whole program on it, because I think Israel needs to know what's going to happen and when that is likely to happen. I'm really hoping I can get that book out. I'm spending a lot of time writing for the basics, because I think we need the basics up and on our website. So it's been distracting. And, I went back on that book, as you probably can tell. I went back to the beginning and I said, I think what I need to do is to tell the story of the two luminaries, because they're all the way through the end times. Those two luminaries are featured in Isaiah 13. They're featured in Yirmiyah 31 about the renewal of the covenant. They're featured in Yoel, which is the last battle. They're everywhere. They're even in Chabauk, these two luminaries. So I said, I think I need to write the story of the two luminaries all the way through the story, and then I'll go back to where I was previously. So it's growing as a book, and it's growing from the beginning and the end and the middle are all growing simultaneously. So it's a real challenge, but I really hope I can get this book done prior to this Shavuot. So I thank you for contributing. We don't have Kevin that I can. Oh, there he is, Kevin. Can you play this last song? And I don't know if you want to just show the cover art for it, or if we want to have the visual of the fire. I'll let you guys decide if we can have the visual of the fire as we hear the song, which would be lovely. But
I don't think it'll do that.
Okay.
The way it's loaded in StreamYard, it's just going to play the song.
And then when we're done with the song, what we're going to do is, as a family, we're going to go out and spend some time around that fire. We'll just let the camera continue to go, and we're going to enjoy the rest of our matzah. This is a very solemn but special occasion commemorating what has been done. And one of the things that I did today is I asked the fellows, I said, so how long do you think we're going to know the pain that Dowd endured to fulfill Pesach and Matzah? Because it is, as he says, the end of the 22nd Psalm, that it restored the esteem that we have for him. He knows that that's what it did for him. And he's right in that regard. So the question was, you think we're going to know it going forward, or you think we're it was an unpleasant situation, had a wonderful result, but won't be talked about so much after a while? What's your thinking?
Can we do the Mow'edyms forever?
Yes, we are.
Now you're going to miss it.
Yeah, that's my view. Okay, so we're on the same boat there, Kevin. You're saying you think so too.
Yeah, Kirk nailed it right on the head. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. I think too that if we don't recognize what Dowd actually did, then it's very difficult for us to continue to have that level of appreciation for him. I think we need to know what he did, and I think God's going to remind us of what he did. We have father and son, and father and daughter here. Son meet daughter, daughter meet son.
Actually, this is my wife.
That's Patty.
Okay.
That's Patty.
Usually it's delayed.
The reason it's so hard to tell is that the backdrop that you have, the way that it crops, crops the face. Yeah, it makes Patty's face look like it's about the size of Dylan's face.
Oh,
so,
well, I mean, I thank you.
Yeah, so you lost 30
years or 20 years.
20 years there, and his setup. Now all we need is to have that same setup here, and I wouldn't look 5,400 years old anymore.
I think that whole question you asked though about what Dowd did, as a teacher, like, you have to appreciate where you come from. You have to appreciate the meanings behind what you are learning. You can't just learn the blanket and be like, oh, okay. Children are so much more engaged when it is relevant to them. And I think Dowd's sacrifice is very relevant, and I think it will always be relevant.
Yes. Yeah, you're here because of what he did. And
exactly.
You need to know what he did so you can appreciate him for doing this for you, because this is the price that was paid for you to be here. And when it comes to the fact that everyone that's going to be part of that final remnant is going to be outside of the otherwise covenant members, they're all going to be earning Yahweh's trust.
Yeah.
If you have that exemplar of this is what Dowd did. So you want to earn my trust. We're not, you don't have to do that anymore. But you do need to show some moxie here. You've got to show some stick-with-itness. You need to show some resolve. This is what my son did. How about you?
You've always said that. Appreciate the gift. We need to appreciate the gift. You should always appreciate what has been given. Otherwise, you're entitled and you lose track of what is important.
Yes. Yeah. And I'm with you too. I know you're a teacher. You're back to teaching again. And as a teacher of sorts here, I think context is everything. You want to make it relevant. You want it to such that people can apply this to their lives, that they come to love and appreciate Yahowah and his beloved son Dowd more based upon a better, fuller, more complete knowledge of what they've done, and a better appreciation that God's not looking for you to be perfect. We're relaxed in this relationship. Dowd took away our guilt, so we look great in God's eyes. And we can enjoy this relationship and make a contribution, knowing that what he's really looking for is stick-to-itiveness, just willingness to see it through. I mean, every time today I was translating something relative to Yah's name, and he's talking about, what he's anticipating from his people, he's constantly saying, and we're going to go work together.
Yeah.
I'm calling them to come work with me.
I think one of the things that kids say to me that I find the most unsettling sometimes is they're like, I'm bored. And I'm like, well, I'm sorry, but at some point it's the discipline of sitting down and getting the job done. Mm-hmm. And I'm still doing that with my learning and being eloquent and all of the things, because trust me, I enjoy learning from all of you very much. Yeah. But I think there is a place for appreciating the gift. And there's a place for what all of you are doing on Team Yah. We need this so much.
Yes.
100%.
Growing is a marvelous experience. And to have the opportunity to know more tomorrow than we know today, it's its own reward. And the more we come to know about what Dowd did and who Yahowah is, the more we can equip our own lives to be productive, to be joyful, to be pleasing, to make a contribution. And the more we're comfortable around Yahowah, that whole thing about the more we know, it's just like the children of Israel did not know Yahowah very well. He spoke to them and he scared them to death. They were embarrassed to be around him. They were so flawed. They didn't want God to see all their flaws. And then you realize that God took away all of our flaws and that he's not looking for perfect. He's looking for stick-to-itiveness and a good listener and somebody who's resolved to act. And you say, well, I can do that. And if you're putting our relationship in a situation where you're God and you're saying, I'm working through you and I'm pleased with you and I like working with you, so let's just keep on. You end up relaxing in the whole thing. It goes back to what we were talking about Will and Jake earlier. It's a much more comfortable way to be father and son in the big picture, because we're all father and son with Yahowah.
It's a beautiful.
We can be relaxed. We don't have to be perfect. We can learn. We can make mistakes. We can grow. We can share from them. In fact, making mistakes and sharing is the part that makes us credible, real. All right, let's play that last song, and we'll have a happy Shabbat to one and all, a marvelous celebration of Matsah over this next 24 hours. And we just continue to celebrate Matsah another 5 days because it's a 7-day festival. Yep. Matsah is the heart of this time. Pesach is over, and we're celebrating Chag Matsah, which Pesach is simply the first day.
A cracked white moon on a potter's plate, the bread of haste at freedom's gate. We left the ovens, left the chains, left the ash and Pharaoh's names in a hurry, in a hush, bitter smoke and starlight dust. Matzah, 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 plain and bright, bread of remembrance, bread of night. Matzah, 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 our sins and
and misgivings erase. Break us open, give us place. No bitter alibi, no swelling pride, not a thing that hands can hide. A table set with scars and songs, a freedom that remembers wrongs. We eat the silence and speak the bold. We know the path and point the way. The weight of years and light of hope. Every crumb as a witness stands. Whom we broke on lifted hands. A remnant weeps for the king. Dowd, Matsah, 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 sweet and bright. Bread of remembrance, bread of night. Matsah, 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 break us open, give us place. Hard bread so stripped and small carries the truth that frees us all. Matsah, even at midnight, shining bright in our lives. Bread of exile, turn to
Perry on the shofar. He got a little ways before he's Leah on the shofar, but that was
taking lessons
very,
from
very
Leah.
good effort. A lot better than I could have done. Thank you, one and all. We're going to go out and enjoy the fire. You're welcome to enjoy this too, Mike. It's Wookie. I don't know if you're noticing, but you look at there, Wookie. Wow, there's another one. I'm too tired to even notice right at the moment. Pretty cute. Oh, well, thank you, one and all. It's a marvelous way to spend Matzah together. I'm glad we just had the whole time was really just a conversation about this relationship we have with Yahowah, with Dowd, our understanding of what Matzah represents and how we've grown to this place together. All of the time we've spent together. Jake, you're the only youngin here in the sense that your dad, Kirk, Mike, JB, and Kevin, and Rich, we've been together a long time. We've been together longer than you are old, and so it's wonderful to see that a relationship has stick-to-itness. So we the longer we've been together,
He's
the
the
more
next
comfortable we are
generation.
with each other. Yes,
Yeah,
we are,
absolutely.
and it's important to have a new generation and to exemplify father and son. And so you guys do that beautifully. And I think the fact that JB, Kevin, Mike, and Kirk, Will, Perry, and also Rich, the fact that we have been on this journey together 15, 20 years, it says a lot. We've been through a lot, and you come to trust and rely on one another. And every time there's a new discovery, it brings us closer together.
Yeah.
And we behind the scenes, we're challenging each other, and it's just a marvelous way to.
It's Leah.
Okay, Leah, come on in. Give us a final blast, and we will enjoy. Oh, she's actually blowing the smallest of the shofars. That's a little guy to be blown, but. Wow. Well, thank you, Leah. We will
car is scared now.
Yeah.
She's
Wish you
telling us
all a
something.
wonderful Shabbat. Don't cancel the show this time,
Nope, we'll let it
Rich.
go.
We're going to go off and enjoy the fire. That again, the metaphor of the fire that Yahowah actually asks us to approach during Matsah is that that fire is transformative. That is what God is offering to us to replace our physical bodies and the limitations of them, so that our souls, which is what matters, that's the carrier of our personality, our attributes, and our attitudes, that our souls can be enveloped in light energy, so that we, in a number of years, we're going to be off together as a family on some galaxy far, far away, experiencing marvelous new discoveries and in and out of Shamaim. And it's going to be marvelous that what we can do when our souls are empowered with light and energy. And it's the reason we have to pass the test. We have to show God that we can be trusted, because he's going to essentially infinitely increase our capabilities. To go from 3 dimensions to 7 is to have your dimensionality increased infinitely 4 times over. And God's got to be sure that he's doing that to people he can trust, because it is immense power and opportunity and capability. So we're going to go off and enjoy the fire because of its transformative nature. Thank you all for a marvelous matzah. We'll be together again next week.
Thank you.
Shabbat shalom.
Instead of dueling banjos, Leigh and I could do dueling shofars.
Yes, you could. Dueling shofars. I love it. Are we full screen? Going full screen to...
Hey, Kevin, can you take the
There
fire?
we
Kevin
go.
got it. Thank you.
My mic's probably still going.
Everybody's
That's
still
okay.
hot.
We'll be...
Let it go.
You're hiding? Where's Book?
Where's Book?
Hey there, thanks for tuning in. That was Fetch. Gotta run now. Catch y'all on our next podcast.